What's up, guys? How we doing today? Hope y'all are doing awesome. Today, we're going to be touching on the Idaho ambush ordeal that was up there the other day. And I know it's been all over the news and everything, and everybody's been talking about it, but that's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right, so this whole Idaho thing, if I'm sure you've all heard of it. If not, I'll kind of go over it real quick touch on it. It's all over the news. Other people have better data than I do. I try to get some of the facts, so I'm usually not one of the first ones out with it. I try to get some of the story before I throw out a post. But anyway, basically, it started some kid, 20-year-old kid. He went up to the mountains up there in Idaho, up there near Coeur d'Alene, and he started a fire. And when the firefighters came to put it out, he started shooting at them with most likely an AR-15 style rifle. I don't think they've actually said that yet, but that's probably what it was. It was probably an AR-15 or an AK-47 or something to that effect, I'm sure. They said they found guns near his body and all that, but he was found dead. After that, two people have died, two firefighters. He shot two firefighters dead. One went to the hospital, had surgery. I think at the moment he's in stable condition. And then a few others got shot and they're just injured. But I don't know. That's kind of a gist of the story. But it was a 20-year-old kid, and it's kind of gets you thinking like did he act alone on this, or who was he in on? And there's stuff about him coming out. His name was Wes Rowley, and from what I've gathered, his parents are conservative Trump supporters, and he's had some social media posts, and he's had mental health issues. He's been, stuff like that, and I think he was trying to talk. I think I heard somebody say that he was talking to some people or some friends, or make posts that he could do something like carry something like that in a gun friendly area like that. But it just kind of makes you think, like, was this, I'm not sure if it was sleeper cell, because that was my first thought. And a lot of people's first thought was, well, it's sleeper cell. And, but this sort of thing has been happening for a while, and what's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to jump on real quick and do a quick shout out to the sponsors of this video, which is first and foremost, the Lord above, the creator of the universe. Without him, none of us are anything. We're all nothing. And secondly, I wanted to shout out to the subscribers of this channel, because without the subscribers, this channel's nothing. And we're growing slowly, but we're growing. And I get between like 1 and 10 new subscribers every day. So I see every single one, and every one I appreciate. It's amazing to me that I even have as many as I do. But my goal for the year is 8,000. So if we can get that by the end of 25, that would be awesome. And if those of you that have subscribed, again, thank you so much. You're the life of this channel. And those of you that haven't subscribed, if you want to, maybe not right now, but if you want to watch for a few more minutes, and then if you want to
go ahead, make my day.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, that would be fantastic. But again, it's up to you. If you feel like it, if you feel like you're getting anything out of this, I'm working on a few things that I'm going to come up with some new videos and some new ideas that might help you out a little bit. But anyway, again, appreciate y'all. Love you. Back to your show. It's obviously could have been put up, he could have obviously been put up to it. Maybe not, but I'm just thinking it's one of those cases where maybe it is, but because I've heard that, I've heard I don't have any confirmed data on him himself. I'm just kind of going by what I've heard. He had ties with Russia. His parents are conservatives. He's had some mental health issues and things like that. And he was 20 years old. and this is partly why, and I don't know for sure if he bought the guns himself, but this cases like this are why I think they should raise the age limit to 21 before you can buy a rifle, because it just doesn't make any sense. You can buy an AR-15 at 18, but you can buy a handgun at 21, and it doesn't make sense. And you can clearly see that kids' brains aren't fully developed at age 18 yet. They should let them, because they're still kids. It says me, and they're But anyway, and it kind of makes you wonder, because they're keeping a very very tight lips on all this. They're not really releasing a lot of data. They're not releasing what kind of gun it was that I know of. They haven't. They're keeping his information. We're trying to get a motive here, but they're not really giving a whole lot. They're not really. They gave us his name, and I'm sure everybody at that point was starting to look up things about him so they could break something. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm just trying to more give my take on it. But it just kind of makes you think it's not alone, and things like this are happening. I heard somebody else say earlier that maybe some of these sleeper cells and some of these coordinated attacks, they're going to start dressing more like first responders and law enforcement and EMTs and all that. And maybe it's because you won't shoot at them because they're law enforcement. You obviously don't shoot a police officer. You don't shoot a firefighter. You don't shoot a first responder. But they're going to start doing that. Just like this thing in Minnesota that a while back last month they had where they killed that congresswoman and her husband, and he came dressed as a police officer and with a mask on his face. So they're hiding themselves. They're coming undercover, and they're making it very tough for us to know what we're up against. And as preppers, if we're forced to bug out, let me back up. Let me back up a minute. His body was found dead, and they're not saying whether. There's been a few things come out, and I don't know which one it is because I don't think they've confirmed it yet, whether he took his own life or whether he was shot by law enforcement. And I've also heard that some locals shot him. So they're not really releasing that. Like I said, they're keeping the story kind of quiet on the shooter. They're not really giving us a lot of information on a lot of this event. It's kind of that right there kind of makes you wonder if they had nothing to hide, they would be like, yep, it was this, it was that, we shot him, or he shot himself, or a local came up forward and admitted that he shot him, or something. And they're keeping it quiet, and kind of throws a little red flag there. But anyway, as preppers, and we prepare for attacks against that and stuff like that. And so we try to, like I said, we try to prepare, we try to be ready for attacks like that, but you can't really be ready for an attack like that. This is unprecedented. The kids started a fire to lure firefighters in, and they don't think anything. They're just going to fight a fire. They're going to do what they do every single day. So they don't carry firearms. They don't go out there with the expectation of bullets flying in their face. So it was very coordinated, and he could have acted alone. There's a possibility. It doesn't sound like it could have been like it was super sophisticated. He just lit a fire, and they're not even saying who called 911. If it was him that called in the fire, probably if they wanted him, if he wanted them to come to him, he probably lit the fire, waited for it to get a certain size, and then, hey, 911, there's a fire out here. And then he just hung out there and waited for them to show up, and they were, kind of analyzing it, and he just started shooting at them. But as preppers, we know that, and this goes not even for preppers. This goes for good side or bad side. These areas are like really woodsy areas. They're like really, this particular area was lots of trees, lots of places to hide. But if you become a target, especially of the U.S. government or the military, whether you're on the good side or the bad side or whatever side you think you're on, whatever side, if you're if you end up getting targeted by the military, they're going to find you. They have, and that's the problem with all these people that, oh, I'm just going to bug out to the mountains. You're not safe. If you become a target, there's nowhere you can hide. They will find you with their drones, with their helicopters, their thermals, their all that stuff. They, they will find you. There's really nowhere to hide. It's hard to say that, but a lot of people that I'll just bug out to the mountains and live out there and hide out there and I'll be good. But I mean, it took them a while, but they found him. I mean, I don't know. They found his deceased body, but he was at least found, and I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if they shot him. If they were able to get him, then obviously he wasn't hiding very good or what, but like I said, there's nowhere to hide. It, like I said, sorry about that. Kind of my mind went blank, but if you become a target, it's very hard to hide from, especially from the U.S. government or the special forces or whatever, the military, because they've got all the good equipment. And we got to keep that in mind as we're making our plan, our getaway plan, that, yeah, we may have helmets and nods and all that, so we can see in the dark, but guess what? So can they. We've got to be able to figure out how to avoid being seen if it's needed. If we have to go somewhere that, even out in the woods, because they had helicopters, they had, which is another thing I heard, they had an unmarked, privately owned Black Hawk out there. I would assume that was on the good side, but I don't know. I would assume so. But like I said, they've got drones, they've got helicopters, they had snipers on the helicopter, and were taking, if you see something, take the shot. So who knows if it was actually law enforcement or him or somebody else. They're not saying. It's very, very close. Keep an ear out for more of this story, because it's kind of a big story, and it could lead a snowball effect. He may have been just thinking, well, school shootings, everybody's done school shootings, that's not a big deal anymore. Maybe it was just something dumb like that, like some kid wanted to go out with a bang or something, but school shooting was unpopular now because everybody's done that. Everybody's done a school shooting. I don't want to be one of those. I want to do something. And maybe that was his motive. I don't know. They're not really telling us his motives, but they did. I have heard that he had mental health issues, just like all of them. He had, he did have prior concerns that could have triggered red flags for something like this. But they, again, like always, they just skip right over it. And then look what happens. And how is it such young people that are pulling this off, especially single-handedly, like this, and Thomas Crooks, the one that shot Trump in the ear, he was only in his early 20s. How are these kids doing this on their own without help? That's kind of the question of the day, is how are these kids doing this without help? If obviously we're pretty sure they're not acting alone, but somebody's putting them up to it, I'm sure, because as a 20-year-old, you've still got a lot of life left. You've still got a lot of stuff to look forward to, but again, some people don't think of it that way. But anyway, that was just my take. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of giving you more opinions because I do know a little bit about the story, but I don't know all of the details. A lot of the details aren't coming in. But anyway, leave comments below on what you think about it, and let us know. Let's have a conversation. And YouTube stuff, there's links down below. Again, I'm trying to hit 8,000 before the end of the year. That would be awesome if I can do that. getting close, but we still have half a year left and still got a ways to go, but we're getting close and I think we can get there. If you wouldn't mind, just help me out if you feel like it. But anyway, appreciate you. Again, links below. Appreciate y'all. Love you. We'll see you in the next one.